Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, February the 20th, 2021. It is currently 12:17 p.m. Central Time. I'm sitting here in the sanctuary of Victory Baptist Church, and we are about to engage in a very serious conversation that may not be appropriate for everyone. If you have small children around, this may be the time to hit pause, listen at a later time, put in headphones. We're going to be dealing with some things that may make you feel uncomfortable. We may be dealing with some topics that you may not really want to hear discussed. And if that's the case, you've been warned. But I just see a trend developing over the last few weeks, last few months. And I think we need to talk about it. I think we need to discuss it. And it's going to be uncomfortable. And I invite you to be a part of the conversation. This is going to be a discussion. This is not me coming at you from a very dogmatic perspective and trying to act like I've got this all figured out and that I have all the answers, because clearly I do not. But I think it's a time for all of us to have a very difficult conversation. And I really want you to be a part of this. And everyone's going to have a different perspective. A lot of things will, a lot of this will determine, a lot of this perspective will be based off if you are a man or a woman. I think if you are a man, you're going to see this topic one way. If you're a woman, you're going to see it a different way. And it's hard for me as a man to understand the woman's perspective. And it's probably very difficult for a woman to understand the man's perspective. But I think we need to have a frank conversation. And we're going to talk about this, and I hope you're ready for this. If you're listening to me live, feel free to participate in the chat at any time. If you would like to email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. This is not going to be easy. So I'm going to give everyone just a minute to make sure if you've got children around, you go ahead and move them away. I'm just giving you a couple of seconds here before I say anything that you don't want them to hear, right? So, all right, you ready? You ready? Okay, here we're going to be we're going to be having a lot of discussion, probably not just this episode, but I think a number of episodes coming up, because there's just so many articles that I keep coming across lately about this. But we're going to be dealing about the evangelical view on sexuality. And has that view of sexuality, has it actually done more harm than it has good? Has it hurt people? Is the evangelical view on sexuality, is it partially to blame for a lot of the sex scandals that happen within Christianity? Do we have a healthy view of sexuality within the Christian world? What does it lead to? How does it make women feel? Have we put so much blame on women that it makes them feel something that's not accurate and fair? We're going to have to ask some tough questions, and we're going to have to do a lot of thinking about it. And I hope I can add to the conversation. I hope I can facilitate a conversation that you may need to have with yourself. You may need to have with your spouse. You may need, I think this is a conversation that the church is always afraid to have any really frank conversations, I think sometimes about sexuality, because it makes everyone very uncomfortable. But let's just be very blunt and honest, okay? The desire for sex is a part of our makeup, all right? It's a part of being a human being, all right? That desire for sex is not evil or wrong. It is there. It's inside of us. All right. It's natural. It's just, you have a natural desire for food. Many of you have a very natural desire for sleep. I know I need it. I don't desire it, but I need it. I don't like it. And we have a natural desire for sex, and we are all different in our, let's just be blunt. We have different likes and dislikes, and we're sexual beings. And to deny that aspect of our person is foolish, and it's there. But how do we take that desire for sex, those likes, those dislikes, everything that makes us, that part of us as sexual beings, how do we take that and then handle it in a scriptural way? And have we handled it in a scriptural way? Have we so focused on maybe on handling it in a scriptural way, we haven't seen some of the unintended consequences? Sometimes you can try to handle something in a biblical way, but there are unintended consequences that we did not foresee. And there's a lot of people who've come out of the evangelical Christian world, and they've come out very scarred and very hurt. A lot of people now have come out of what was referred to as the purity culture in the 1990s. Purity rings, signing a purity contract, all of the different movements within the Christian world and the Christian youth world, these Don't Wait conferences and all of these things. I Kiss Dating Goodbye, Joshua Harris, all of these books. It was this really move on purity, 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 purity. And a lot of people who came out of that, their testimony is they came out damaged. They came out scarred. It messed them up as human beings. It messed them up sexually. And they come out very bitter against what they experienced. Look, the church obviously didn't intend to hurt people. The church really felt that, hey, we're trying to do the right thing here. But did we, in emphasizing purity, did we give people a healthy understanding of sexuality? But where does your view of sexuality come from? I don't know if the church has ever spent any time trying to develop a healthy view of sexuality more than just saying, this is what you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And if you do this, shame on you, bad on you. Now you're going to be punished. And that's kind of the Christian world most people entered into. Now you're a teenager, you become a Christian. Okay. Now, what is the number one sin you cannot commit? Premarital sex. You cannot commit that. I mean, there's lots of other sins you commit, but that's the one that will, that's like the scarlet letter. You're going to get the fornicator, branded on you, that big F for fornication branded on your head. And, the whole world's going to know that you did it. I think, I know it's very difficult. I remember when I was a Lutheran and the Lutheran youth group, I can't remember the name of the book. I cannot remember the name of the book, but it was really bizarre that, and you could say that it was a very liberal Lutheran church, obviously, but they had a book, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was a book about basically sexuality. And it was a book trying to help the young people develop a proper view of sexuality. It wasn't so much about the morality of sex as about trying to have an understanding of that you're a sexual being, sexual desires. And it was really it was almost like a sex education class, really is what it was. It was really kind of bizarre, but that's really what happened. Now, I'm not saying that that's the correct approach, but where are you going to get your view of sexuality from? I mean, just think about your own view of sexuality. Where did you derive it from? From the church? From your mom and dad? From friends? From movies? From pornography? You have a view of sexuality. You could articulate in a private setting, speaking to someone, you could articulate your view of sexuality. Is it healthy? Has it been harmful? Where did it come from? And so much can impact that. And these are conversations that nobody really wants to have, and I understand that. And I'm not saying that I'm not qualified to fix any of this. I'm just saying that we need to have these conversations and thoughts. And let me just take you kind of the timeline to how I ended up right here, sitting in this building right now with this microphone on, talking about this subject. Let me explain what happened. I don't know. See, do I have the date here? Now, when I get ready to do this, please don't, I don't want to get into some massive argument about music here. So if you want to get into some argument about music, please just don't, okay? I think this was last month. I believe it was last month. A new EP was released, okay? An EP is not a full-length album, and that's really weird in the streaming world, but an EP is just where you have 3 or 4 songs. It's not a full LP, so it doesn't have 10 or 15 or 20 songs. It only has a few songs, and they release it as an EP. And the name of the EP is Blame Game by the group Beach Bunny. All right, not a Christian group. So I don't want to get into your argument about me. If you want to argue about music, please, can we save it for another time? All right. So I usually not every Thursday night, but a lot of times Thursday night at 11 p.m., I'm sitting there next to my stereo equipment with headphones on, because at 11 p.m. Central Time, all the new music drops on all the streaming services. I subscribe to basically every music streaming service on the planet Earth, and I just start going from one after another, looking for new music in every genre. I'm like, oh, here's a new album. Here's a new album. Oh, I've been waiting for this album. I'm wait, what in the world is this? And I start listening and listening and listening and listening and listening and looking at lyrics and analyzing the structure of the music, the production, and I could go all day talking about music. Okay, big time, lifetime music fan. And I don't do the old person thing where the music today doesn't sound like the music. No, I can't stand that garbage. No, the music today is just as good, in many cases better. I don't even. I'll get into a whole philosophy about music. But so I was sitting there and I saw this new EP called "The Blame Game" by Beach Bunny. I'm like, okay, it's 4 tracks. That won't take me long. It's a total of what. I don't know the total length of the EP. It doesn't give me the total time. But the first track is 3 minutes and 35 seconds. The next one is 3 minutes and 38 seconds. The next one is 3 minutes and 2 seconds. And then the final track is 3 minutes and 35 seconds. So it wasn't going to take me a long time to work my way through it. All right. And then I could get on to bigger albums. So I'm like, I'm going to listen to this. And when I started listening, I made it through the first 3 tracks and I was like, okay, I could start breaking down some of my thoughts. But when I got to the 4th track, that's when I'm like, okay, this is an interesting discussion. This is an interesting concept to discuss. And so I hit repeat. I think I was listening to it on another music streaming service. And then I went to Apple Music where I could look at the lyrics. So I've got Apple Music open right now. Again, this song is called Blame Game by Beach Bunny. Now, I can't play it for you because of copyright issues. Let me take a drink of water. There we go. I'm going to lose my voice, all right? That's what happens when you do as much broadcasting as I do. By the time you're done, your voice is gone. All right, so I started listening to this, and like I said, there was something about the lyrics that really okay, this is interesting. So I listened to it again. I sent it to both of my daughters to get some of their feedback, and because I wanted, kind of a female perspective. And let's just consider the lyrics. This will get us into this broader conversation about the evangelical world and sexuality. I know this, you may say, man, this is a roundabout way to get there. Yes, but this is how it started. So I just want you to see. All right, so here we go. Here's the song, Blame Game, Beach Bunny. You can look it up on any streaming service. You can probably find the lyrics online if you would like to read them for yourself. Here we go. Again, not a Christian group, all right? Just make that very clear right from the outset. Here we go. Time keeps slipping away. Same routine settles in next Friday. TV news interviews saying she's loose. Police officer asks what she's wearing. Now stop right there. I got to take another drink of water. All right, there we go. I'm having a hard time with my voice right now. That's bad. So let's go through this again. Time keeps slipping away. Same routine settles in next Friday. Okay? TV news interview saying she's loose. So there's a TV interview that's saying that's making some judgment about a female that, hey, she's loose, that she's, promiscuous, that she's loose with her sexual encounters. Police officer asks what she's wearing. Now, what does that seem to be implying? Is that implying that, hey, a sexual crime happened and a police officer saying, so what was she wearing? Now, does that make a difference? Does it matter what she was wearing? Sometimes society, sometimes even within the Christian church, hey, look what she's wearing. She's asking for it. Whoa. Now be very careful about what you're about to say. No matter what she's wearing, if she's not wearing anything, it's no one's right to touch her body and do anything to her without consent. To do anything of that is sin. It's a crime. It's wrong. So what difference does it make what she's wearing? Why do we raise that question? Does that come from some kind of Christian mentality about, well, she should be dressing this way, and if she doesn't dress this way, then she somehow deserves to be hurt, touched, abused? Again, we're going to have a blunt conversation. Raped? Where did that mindset come in? Hey, you asked for it. Where did that come in? How did that ever enter into anybody's mind? No, it's her body. You don't have a right to it. You can't tell. It doesn't matter what she's wearing. Why would that ever, how would that ever enter into anyone's mind to even ask that question? That to me, that's a horrible, like, where did that come from? So as soon as I read that lyric, I was like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. So police officer asked what she's wearing, and I'm tired of the world perceiving me, and I'm tired of girls saying, something here's got to change, it's got to change. We keep playing the same blame game. Do you think calling names make me feel safe? You look prettiest when you smile, but I don't want to smile for anyone, and I'll be caught dead saying, guess it's my fault my body's fun to stare at. Guess it's my fault that my body's fun to stare at. Now, this is being written obviously from a female perspective, and she's like, look, I'm tired of the blame game. Where the woman gets the blame. The woman's getting blamed. She got raped because of what she was wearing. Oh, wait, people were looking at her and saying certain things about her. Well, look at what she's wearing. Look at what she's wearing. And she's tired of the blame game. She's tired of it. And look at that line. I guess it's my fault that my body's fun to stare at. Is it the female's fault? Does Christianity, did purity culture give the idea to many women that, hey, it's your fault? Because of your body? It's your fault that you look like that? It's your fault that men lust? It's your fault that men look at you that way? It's your fault that men stumble? It's your fault because of the way you're built, the way your body is made? It's your fault? Did women feel like it's somehow their fault? Now, I know these are tough questions, and you may be saying, but wait, there's another side. Look, we're just starting the conversation. I can't throw in every perspective right now. But did we make women feel that way? Now, I don't know where, what perspective she's going. I don't know if she was exposed to a Christian worldview. I don't know what she was exposed to, but I'm looking at this from a Christian perspective. Did we make women feel bad about the way their body looks? Now, you got to wear a trash bag. Because if you don't, then it's your fault. Is it her fault? Or is it my fault? Whose fault is it? Is it the woman's or the guy's? Do I blame her? Blame myself? I've told the story. I'll tell it again. When I worked in the military, the base chaplain had created an email group of a bunch of people who professed to be believers so that we could have theological discussions, quote Bible verses, just kind of a good email group. And one morning we got to work and I opened my email inbox and the first email had come into today from the group. And it was this guy. He was a sergeant. I don't know where he worked in the military base. And he was ticked off. He was just going off that I cannot believe that billboard. Did y'all see that billboard? I cannot believe it. Someone needs to call. Someone needs to have that billboard taken down. It is wrong. I can't believe it. And I'm like, what billboard? What is he going on? Well, they're on, I think it's called Winters Freeway. On the way to the military base, there was this big billboard. I don't even know what it was advertising, but it was a woman. I think she was wearing a bikini. I don't know what she was wearing. I don't remember it exactly what was on it, but he saw it, and obviously he had some serious problems with what he saw. That's not what he wanted to see on his way to work. It created him some major problems, and he was mad, and what he wanted is he wanted it taken down. So instead of saying, hey, what can I? So in other words, this mentality, I know he didn't mean it to come across this way. He was just struggling. And I admire the fact that he was willing to acknowledge his struggle because probably a lot of men saw it and wouldn't be willing to admit their struggle. But just note the way it was, that needs to be taken down. That should not be seen. We should not see that woman's body that way because I can't handle it. I can't handle it. The woman shouldn't show it. Now, the woman who modeled it probably was more than willing to do so. She got paid, and probably many people don't have a problem with it. But it puts, you see, there in a indirect way, it puts the emphasis on what the woman should do, what the woman can't do. And so, hey, I'm sorry that, it's my fault that my body's so fun to stare at. I'm sorry it's my fault that it's my body. I wish I would have been, My genetics would have worked out a different way, so I wasn't built this way. Is it the woman's fault? Or is it, hey, man, I've got a problem. I can't even see a billboard of a woman like that without going immediately full-blown lust. I got to struggle with this. But get the billboard taken down. That's the solution. No, the solution is something inside of you, inside of me. And again, I can speak for men who have strong desires and can be visually, visual that is not, it can be dangerous for us. Yeah, but it's us. And that sound right there is me hitting my chest. It's me. It's not the woman. It's me. I'm at fault. I can't blame the woman. So that's just a powerful line. She goes on to say, sorry, my clothes can't keep your hands from grabbing. Sorry, my clothes can't keep your hands from grabbing. This almost like a very sarcastic. Sorry that my clothes, the way I'm dressed couldn't keep your hands, couldn't stop your hands from grabbing me. No, you can't touch. It's you. The boys need to be taught it's your responsibility. It's not the woman's responsibility. You are responsible for yourself. Does the Christian ethic put all the blame and all the responsibility on the woman, and the man is somehow removed from responsibility? Now, I know there's going to be many men here going, wait here. But there may be many women here going, no, you're absolutely right. I was always feel to blame. I was always feel like it was my fault. I was always made to feel that every man was looking at me with sexual thoughts. And so that I always felt uncomfortable around men and had to cover myself up. There's a lot of women who testify of that coming out of the purity culture. That men were to view women as dangerous. Women are dangerous because, see, you can't control yourself because you got these strong urges, and so women are dangerous. Are women dangerous or the men dangerous? Like, did we frame the discussions in a correct way? Let's continue here. So I'll back this up. I guess it's my fault. My body's fun to stare at. Sorry, my clothes can't keep your hands from grabbing. Yes, it's my problem. I'm asking for it. And you sometimes hear people saying, oh, she was asking for it. Asking for what? What was she exactly asking for? Now, that language should never be used by Christian men, but I'm pretty sure that there's been Christian men who talk this way, at least maybe not that direct or that blunt, but almost as if it was her fault. It's her fault that I fell. Sometimes, even when we preach stories about David and Bathsheba, I've heard pastors put the blame on her. She had to know that men were watching her from taking a bath there. She had to know. Well, was it her fault or was it David's fault? David's the one who sent and took her. Whose fault was it? So we always want to put the blame on it's got to be on the woman. How about it was on David? Yet if David was at fault, and David sure didn't put any blame on her. So why do preachers want to do it? Because we want to somehow tell the men, hey, there's women out there who'll go up on the roof and bathe. And so you better look out for them. They're out to get you. Or how about, hey, men, we gotta control ourselves. We got to learn how to deal with these desires. I just think sometimes it's like, hey, you're going to have these desires, and that's good that you have those desires. And it's the women who need to be helping to protect you. But what about the man's responsibility to for themselves? Why does the woman have to be? I think there's a lot here to be talked about this. So the song says, yeah, it's my problem. I'm asking for it. Guess you're the victim and I'm the suspect. So young, you're the victim. You're the victim, not me. It's not the woman. It's the man is the victim. It's not the woman. The woman is the suspect. So what did you do? What did you do to get him to do that? What did you get him to do to send that text? What did you get him to do that? No, it's the man's fault. It's not the woman's fault. It's the man's fault. says posters and TV tell me my body is for other satisfaction. So now she's looking to the world. The world basically says, hey, for the woman, your body is for other people's satisfaction. That's what your body is for. It's for other people to look at and other people to be satisfied with. But is it possible that even within Christianity, we've kind of looked at the woman and go, hey, that's what your body is really for. It's for other people's satisfaction. And so you have to cover it up. So because it can only be for the satisfaction of one person, which will ultimately be your husband. But that's how every man is going to look at you, is that way. Does this not create a weird dynamic between men and women within Christianity? I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas here. I'm not being dogmatic. It says, tell me my posters and TV tell me my body is for other satisfaction, get a sexual reaction. We're taught we're only meant to act holy, cover up your shoulders, or you might tempt somebody. See, that's how the girls, hey, cover up those shoulders. Hey, don't show those ankles. Hey, because you could tempt somebody. Did we give the wrong message to women within the Christian world? Now, that's using very religious language here. Cover up your shoulders or you might tempt somebody. Does this impact the Christian female's view on sexuality? Girls run home at night when we're leaving from the party because we're raised to trust nobody. Hey, girls, those men are out there to get you. You can't trust those men because all those men are out there to get you. And hey, men, your masculinity, if that woman may be asking for it, where did the message get all mixed up all over the place? Look, you can have good intentions. You can have good intentions to try to give people a correct understanding of sexuality and actually do damage. And I think we may have done damage to each other and to people. And it's not, and it says, so I'll go back a little bit. Girls run home at night when we're leaving from the party because we're raised to trust nobody, and it's not right to make excuses. Teach them why they shouldn't do this instead of telling us to hide. So what she's saying here is time to stop making excuses. Stop making excuses and teach them they teach the men that they shouldn't do this. Don't teach the women that they have to hide. But I guess it's my fault. My body's fun to stare at. Sorry, my clothes can't keep your hands from grabbing. Yeah, it's my problem. I'm asking for it. Guess you're the victim and I'm the suspect. Yeah, it's my fault. My body's fun to stare at. Sorry, my clothes can't keep your hands from grabbing. Yeah, it's my problem. I'm asking for it. Guess you're the victim and I'll ignore it. Guess you're the victim and I'll ignore it. There you have it. That's the song by Beach Bunny. All right, now, after I heard that song, I started thinking a lot about it, man, and just a lot of articles that have been written about people and their experiences in purity culture and how they felt. I just started thinking, man, I wonder if Christianity really needs to relook at itself. And then I found two additional articles that really caught my attention. Here's one. Is the evangelical view of sex at the root of our sex scandals? Now, we've had Ravi Zacharias and Carl Lentz from Hillsong, both caught into major sexual scandals. Is it the evangelical view of sex that's at the root of these scandals? Now, let's just make sure it's clear. This is always a situation when this happens, we have to start blaming. Let's make sure we understand the first two individuals that have to be blamed is Ravi Zacharias and Carl Lentz. No one else is to be blamed. Not even the evangelical view of sex is to be blamed. Those individuals to be blamed. Any mistakes I've ever made in anything regarding sex, it's no one's fault but mine. It's my fault. I'm responsible. No one else. Right? Every man has to be able to say that. It's our fault for whatever things you've done and I've done, whatever the case may be. We have to take that blame. Can't blame anybody else. Now, did the evangelical view of sex contribute? It's still not the ultimate blame is us, but did it contribute in any way? Did it contribute to how women feel? So there's an article. And then I saw another article. This was published just a few days ago. Women are not the problem. Women are not the problem. Now, these are both Christian articles getting the church to go, maybe we need to review and relook at how we've taught sexuality. So what do you think? Do you think the Christian view of sexuality, the way it's been taught, the way it's been handled, do you think it's done harm? Do you think it's done damage? Done damage to marriages, done damage to individuals, done damage to teenagers, done damage to women, done damage to men? Let's just start working through one of these articles. I don't know which one I want to go with first. I'm going to go with the one that's probably the most controversial. I'm going to go, is the evangelical view of sex at the root of our scandals? Now, this gets very blunt. Okay, this has some very mature themes here. So I'm just giving you a warning here, right? But this comes to us from Religion News, and this was published February the 18th as well. It looks like February the 18th, a bunch of articles started coming out about Christian view of sexuality because of these recent scandals. Anytime there's a scandal, then the church stops and go, wait, I don't know if we ever really correct anything. I think we just move on to the next thing, just like purity culture came and went, and then we just moved on to the next thing. The church is always moving on to the next thing. Sometimes I don't know if we ever have any real soul searching, but maybe it's some time for all of us to do some soul searching. Let's see what they have to say here. All right. Is the evangelical view of sex at the root of our sex scandals? It was not celebrity culture that taught Ravi Zacharias and Carl Lentz and countless other pastors to objectify women. Our evangelical culture primed them for it. So a lot of people right now are talking about celebrity culture. It's the celebrity Christian culture to be blamed. All right, that's a discussion. But did the evangelical culture prime men to objectify women? Does the Christian view of sex lead men to objectifying women? That's a big claim. Let's see what they have to say. Evangelicals are pointing fingers at celebrity Christian culture, blaming it for the tragic Ravi Zacharias sexual abuse and rape scandal and the extramarital escapades of Hillsong pastor Carl Lentz, as well as so many more. But what if this epidemic is not just or even mostly caused by celebrity culture? What if it's the evangelical view of sex? Now, let's stop right here. And we've got to at least add a counterbalance here. Right? We've got to make sure we don't go to one extreme over another. Let's just make sure sexual scandal, sexual infidelity, rape, sexual harassment, that's not a Christian thing. That's a global thing, right? That is happening, and that's happened in all kinds of organizations. We've had school teachers sleeping with their students, women school teachers sleeping with their male students. That has happened. Oh, I mean, we could go on and on. Scandal here, scandal here, scandal here. We've got everything with all kinds of adultery, fornication, sexual immorality. I mean, look, we just got to, I don't know why this is so hard to say, but let's just say it. Human beings are sexual beings. So sex is a common desire, and guess what? When people have a common desire, they seek to find ways to fulfill it. Sometimes they fulfill it in a correct way. Sometimes they seek to fulfill it in an incorrect way. Or we can use biblical terms. Sometimes we fulfill it in a godly way or in a sinful way. But we're sexual beings. So I don't know if one culture leads to more problems than another culture. The problem is we all are sexual beings, and I think everyone is so afraid to have open conversations about sex that everyone kind of just struggles with their sexuality inside themselves, and they never have any meaningful conversation and never really, I mean, who gives you the guidelines to what does healthy sexuality look like? Who gives you the guidelines? Who teaches you? You learn the biology of it, right? You learn the physical aspects of it, but are you prepared for the mental aspects of it, the emotional aspects of it? Are you prepared for all of that? Like, what is your view? And everyone wants to claim that, hey, I've got it all together, but how did you draw these conclusions? What is your philosophy on? Nobody really wants to have a discussion about their philosophy on sexuality. Nobody, because it's uncomfortable. I understand that. but the fact that we have millions of people walking around with maybe an unhealthy understanding of it, which leads to major problems. I just don't know if we can say, hey, right now within Christianity, we have an epidemic of sex scandal. And look at what's going on in the world. Was it the Lincoln Project? And let me do a search. I think it's the Lincoln Project. Well, one of their founders is in all kinds of trouble. Let me look here. Let me do the Lincoln Project. The Lincoln Project. Here we go. Okay. The Lincoln Project faces calls to shut down. This was just published a little while ago. The Lincoln Project, the group formed a little more than a year ago by a band of anti-Trump Republicans, is facing calls to shut down amid allegations of toxic and abusive culture at the organization. So far, 2 former top officials at the Lincoln Project have backed the idea of closing down the group, including one of its co-founders. And see what has happened here. Let's see here. John Weaver, I guess one of its founders or leaders, has been accused of harassing numerous young men online. So this is, I guess, some kind of sexual harassment. And I don't know all of the issues that's gone on here, but it appears that there's a whole lot of problems. That's just one. I'd have to go in and read everything about the Lincoln Project, but I know they've been all in the news for all of the different things and all the things that are happening and all the scandal that is going on. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. Let me see if they have an article here. Yeah, that doesn't look like this has been updated. Yeah, that doesn't look here. Okay, here we go. This is from the New York Times. 21 men. 21 men accuse Lincoln Project co-founder of online harassment. John Weaver, a longtime GOP operative who advised John McCain and John Kasich, made sexual overtures to young men, sometimes offering to help them get work in politics. So it's a sexual thing. There's the Lincoln Project. That's not a church. It's not a religious organization. Sometimes the ones that get all of the attention is when it happens in the church. I think we have to just realize human beings are sexual beings, and we're going to have sexual issues. Now, there's a right way, there's a wrong way. There's what's acceptable, there's what's not acceptable. You can talk that from a biblical perspective, you can talk it from a societal perspective. All right, so Christians want to find the answer. The answer is we're sexual beings, and guess what? We're just as prone to sexual sin as every other person is. You don't become a Christian and all of a sudden, dun, da, dun, da, da, you're no longer a sexual being and you can conquer all sexual desires. It doesn't work that way. I just wanted to make sure we offer that perspective here, because they're acting like that it's the evangelical view of sex that caused all these problems in the church. And I'm not sure that that's the case. But they said, what if it's the evangelical view of sex? What if it's the evangelical view of sex that's leading to all of these problems in the church? All right, let's see where they carry this. Yes, celebrity culture gave Zacharias more access to victims and gave both men cover for what they were doing. But it was not celebrity culture that taught these men to objectify women. Our evangelical Christian culture primed them for it. Again, does Christian culture prime men to objectify women? I don't know. Now we're getting ready to get into some very we're going to get into some very blunt and explicit things here. So just stay with me. All right, here we go. Take the best-selling Every Man's Battle series of books. All right. Now, these are books written for the Christian world talking about every man's battle, obviously dealing with sexuality. I guess it's a series of books. Every Heart Restored says, and I quote, because of male hardwiring, men don't naturally have that Christian view of sex. Every Man Battle says, we find another reason for the prevalence of sexual sin among men. We got there naturally simply by being male. Right? So it's the way men are hardwired a certain way. And because we're hardwired a certain way, that's why there's so much sexual sin among men. that men are hardwired a certain way to make us vulnerable to sexual sin. We're more vulnerable to sexual sin than, I guess, our female counterparts because we are hardwired a certain way. Now, if you say you're hardwired a certain way, is that setting you up for failure, or is there some truth to that? All right, let's see where they go with this. All right. Repeatedly, God-given male sexuality and objectification of women are seen as one and the same. Now, they're arguing that the way the Christian view of sexuality, the way we view that men are hardwired a certain way, is that this is our God-given male sexuality. Because of the way we are made, then this comes hand in hand with the objectification of women, that we objectify women because of the way we are hardwired. I don't know if I completely agree with this. Let's continue. The act of marriage echoes this, and they're quoting again from another one of these books. Women must cultivate the problem of visual lust, whereas men almost universally must cope with the problem just because they are men. So they say women must cultivate the problem of visual lust, where men universally must cope with the problem because we're men. Just because we are men, we have to cope with the problem of visual lust. Now, is that true or not true? Like, I know they're trying to say, well, does this teaching lead men to then objectify women? I don't know let's say it does lead men to objectify women. I think we've got to acknowledge there's some truth. Men are hardwired a certain way. I don't think we can I think to deny that is foolish as well. Men are hardwired for visual lust. There's no way about it. Men see, just go sit. And malls are not really a thing anymore. But back in the day, if you just sit in any public place, just sit there and watch men and watch when women walk by. Just watch what happens. Men look and they're thinking something. They don't usually just look and go, wow, she's beautiful. Usually there's thought. Now, see, this teaching can then make women feel like, all men are out to get me, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, do we deny this reality that I don't care if you're in the work world, I don't care where, women walk by, men look, and depending on the men you work with, they may not just look, they may start saying a whole lot of things. High school, locker room, business room. Yeah, when the woman walks in and the woman walks out, there's a good chance that depending on the work world that you're in, depending on how blunt they may be, the men are going to say some things that are probably not appropriate. If you're a man, you've heard it. I've heard it. Certain times in my life, I would probably I hope I didn't engage in it even before I was saved, but I probably would. I usually try not. I always felt that was demeaning to the woman. But I would say, yeah, she's pretty, or I would say something like, but I didn't say some of the other things people said. I always tried to keep myself from that because I just felt it was demeaning to the woman because you were treating her in a horrible way. But can I deny the hardwiring that there is in men? I don't know if I can deny that. Let's see where they go with this. So if men can't help it, what do these books propose is the solution? So they're arguing that these books argue that men can't help it. I guess they're kind of making an argument that men can help it. Well, what do you mean we can help it? We can't help the way we're made. We can't help the way that we are visually that can create lust. I don't think we can help that. We can control what we say. We can hopefully try to control what we think. There's certain things we can control. But it is a good question to say, all right, these books say that men can't help it, so what's the solution? So what is the solution, according to these books? Guess what the solution is? Women are the solution. It is women who keep men from sinning. Now, is that right? If these books do say that it's women who have to do the work, is that a form of Christian sexuality that then somehow gets the men off the hook? The men, hey, look, it's the woman who made me sin. It's the woman. It's her fault. This is what she did. This is how she approached me. This is what she said. It's her fault. She had to know what she was doing. She was playing a game. Do we put the blame on the woman? Is it the woman's responsibility? I mean, I'm asking you questions here that we have to have the conversation. Let's continue. It is women who keep men from sinning. And it starts with understanding this is just how men are. So in other words, women just have to understand this is how men are. That's how they have to operate. For women only advises wives to accept the struggle their husbands have with lust. Love and Respect, these are all different books that they're quoting from, says if your husband feels you do not respect his struggle, his desire for you and his maleness, he'll pull back from you. Wow. That puts a lot of responsibility on a woman. Hey, if you don't understand and respect his struggle, then his desire for you and his maleness, he's going to pull back from you. You better respect his maleness. You better respect and understand his struggle, because if you don't, he's going to pull back from you, and it's going to be your fault. Now, is that fair? This is an important. And again, these are the kinds of books that, like, hey, you're struggling with sin, man. Here are the books you need to read. But what kind of advice are men being given? If the man's being given, hey, this is the way you're made, and it's your wife, she's got to figure this out. She needs to be supporting you. If she's not supporting you, it's her fault. Well, then the man can go, well, my wife's not doing anything to support me, then I'm justified. Is that? Because men can always make that argument. Hey, I don't think the woman is supporting me enough here, so it's not my fault. Is that? Yeah, I mean, this is something that we don't usually talk about, but we need to talk about it. Here we go. And one of the most degrading choices of words ever made, Every Man's Battle, tells women, once he tells you he's quitting lust cold turkey, be like a merciful vial of methadone for him. Now, what? That's a quote from the book. Once he tells you he's quitting lust cold turkey, be like a merciful vial of methadone for him. All right, let me look something up really quick. This is an interesting use of words. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay, methadone is used to treat narcotic drug addiction. I knew it can be used to treat moderate and severe pain. All right, so methadone can be used to treat narcotic drug addiction. So, hey, he's getting ready to quit cold turkey lusting. Now, you as the woman, you've got to come along and you've got to be a vial of methadone for him. You've got to be an injection to help him get over this. You got to be, again, putting the responsibility on the woman. Proving the metaphor was deliberate, the authors repeat it. Your wife can be a methadone-like fix when your temperature is rising. No talk of intimacy or dignity. She is simply a methadone-like fix. Now, is this the advice being given in the evangelical world? Hey, you're struggling. There's your wife. She's the methadone fix. Who cares about intimacy? Who cares about her? She's there for you to use to get over your lust problem. Have you heard this kind of idea within the Christian men's group or the Christian men's Bible study or the Christian group of men that you talk to? Have you approached it this way? These are quotes from these books. Since male sexuality hinges on the objectification of women, the best couples can hope for apparently is that he objectifies only one woman, the one he married. So they're arguing that basically male sexuality hinges on the idea that we're going to objectify women. We're going to look at women and we're going to objectify them and we're going to see them in a sexual way because that's the way we're hardwired. So the best hope we have as a man is that we only objectify one woman, and that's the woman we marry. We objectify her. That's the solution. This raises lots of questions. So here we go. Since male sexuality hinges on objectification of women, the best couples can hope for, apparently, is that he objectifies only one woman, the one he married. By getting his fill with his sanctioned option, he can withstand the more alluring ones. Now, to be fair, I think I've taught it this way, at least in part. I know I've done some teaching, especially in 1 Corinthians, where Paul talks about marriage and not denying the other person, and your body belongs to the other person. And basically, hey, the way to avoid fornication is to get married. I think I've probably at least led to some of these kind of ideas. And it may be something I have to relook at. Now, again, there can be an element of truth here, but there can be an element where there's unintended consequences that we don't think about, and we don't know how it makes people feel. We're basically making the woman feel like your job here is simply to help the man not lust. You're simply an object for him to use. And even though we may not say it, I mean, these books come out right there and say it that way, but this mentality creeps into the mind of a man. So again, this is the way the man justifies it. Well, my wife is not doing what she needs to do. She's not my methadone fix. She's not the fix. So I gotta be, you can't condemn me for finding sex somewhere else. You can't blame me for looking somewhere else. That can never be a justification. And I'm just saying that this kind of teaching can lead to that kind of thinking. Does that make sense? An unintended consequence. All right. How much time? Well, we're at 51 minutes. We'll read one more paragraph here. Husbands don't stop needing methadone when wives are physically unwell either. So men, we never stop needing methadone because we're always going to be basically addicts. We're always going to be addicts. And since we're always going to be addicts, we always need methadone. And the only way we get this methadone is from our wives. But we still need this methadone even when our wife is physically unwell. Even when she's sick and she can't be our methadone, we still need it. And another book, the author says that if a wife, and listen, this is going to be very graphic here, all right? This is going to be very graphic. I'm just giving you a warning. If a wife is bleeding heavily, recovering from childbirth, or simply not feeling her best, she can help her husband out with, I'm not going to say it, with, let's just say, how can I state this? The wife, if she can't engage in some physical behavior, she can still help be the methadone. She can still satisfy her husband in another way that they suggest that I won't read here on the air. But I think you can probably guess where they're going. In other words, you can be creative and find enough. Even if you don't feel well, you can still do certain things. And as the book says, when he's ready to climb the walls, he's ready to climb the walls. So, hey, you've got to be the methadone fix. Methadone fix. He needs it now. Stat. After talking about how difficult the wife's period is on a husband trying to resist pornography, he adds another thing the woman can do. And then the book says this: faithfulness is a two-person job. Hey, if you want your husband to be faithful, you don't want him looking at pornography, hey, the wife, you got to step up. You got to step up and you got to be the methadone fix. You got to be the methadone fix. And I don't care if you're not feeling well. I don't care if it's a certain time. I don't care what you're going through. You can use other parts of your body and you can do what you can to satisfy the husband because he can't handle it. Whew. Now, this is some uncomfortable stuff. I know this is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me to even talk about. But this is making us take a look into the evangelical world of what's being taught to men. Is this correct? Because look, and here's the reason this is important. There's a lot of men who struggle. A lot of men who struggle with pornography. According to many statistics, the church, we're not that much better when it comes to pornographic use than the men outside of the church. We just may struggle and feel guilty, and we may keep it more secret, but men in the church use pornography, and they struggle with lust just like men outside of the church. We just need to acknowledge that. So what happens? Many of those men are not going to go talk. They don't want to talk to their pastor. They don't want to talk to other men in the church. They don't want to talk. They don't even want to talk to their wives about it. They don't know who they can talk to, and they do feel alone and trapped. I can't see the woman's perspective on this, but I can see the man's perspective. You feel trapped. Who do you talk to about this? Who do you go to? Who do you look at and say, hey, everyone, I'm having a problem here? Like, nobody wants to be that person. Everyone says, oh, you should speak, but nobody wants to be the one speaking. No one wants to stand up and go, hey, guys, I've got a problem with pornography. No one wants to be that person. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody does. That's a reality. Nobody wants to talk about it. Every once in a while, men alone will say, yeah, I really struggled here. But they usually tell the story like, I was just on my computer and, oh man, something popped up and I really started having a lot of problems. And they don't really go into any more details because they don't want to go into any more details. They just want to let someone know that, hey, I've had a problem, but I've got it under control. Because men always wants to say, we want to say everything we have under control. That's how a man can get hit by a car and his leg can be pointing the wrong direction and be like, it's okay. Just take me home. I don't need a hospital. I'm good to go. Yeah, but your leg's pointing the wrong direction. Yeah, I'll just have to get, I'll just get used to walking this way. I don't need men. We just have a tendency to do that. But so here's what happens. Men who continue to struggle, guess what they do? They start looking maybe for some Christian books to offer some help. And they try to get that Christian book and read that Christian book. And is this the direction? And you start reading this book and, you read page after page and you're like, this is my wife needs to be reading. I don't need to be reading this book. My wife needs to be reading this book. Hey, honey, I got a porn problem and guess whose fault it is? It's yours. You're supposed to be my methadone fix. Why aren't you being my methadone fix? So because you're not, don't get mad when you see the bill of the things I ordered because, I needed a methadone fix and you weren't available. Nobody wants to talk about it. Now, the only time, and guess what? The only time Christianity wants to talk about sexuality is when a scandal happens. See, as long as you can keep it secret, as long as you can keep it private, nobody wants to have any hard discussions about sexuality. It's when, scandal, bad, you're done. Crucify the sinner, stone the heathen, get rid of him, down with him. He committed sexual sin. Because, that's the biggest sin of all the sins. All the other gossip, slander, backbiting, bitterness, disrespect, not submitting to authority, all these other things, those are okay. But man, don't commit the sexual sin. So then we create an environment where nobody can really talk about it and be open with it. And so then you look for these books, and is this the advice being given in the evangelical world? How does women feel about this? The woman has to then feel like, oh, my husband is struggling with pornography because of me. No, it's because of us as men. We struggle. Now, I think women need to understand that struggle. I think that's fair that they need to understand. Look, I'll say this, and I think this is where so many problems of sexuality shows up within Christian marriage. Right? Because you get married to avoid sexual sin. Let's just be honest. It's kind of one of the ways it's looked at, right? One of the reasons you get married is that because you can't engage in sexuality before marriage. So then you got to get married. So you almost look to marriage as the hope. Like, I got to get married as soon as I can because of sexual sin. So, but this is just a very important concept, and maybe women will disagree with this. Maybe they will. And there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think this is a pretty standard rule. All right. Women will use sexuality to get love. So in the dating scene and that early stage of the relationship, women will be more sexual, more feminine, because they're trying to get love. They're trying to get that partner, and they will use their sexuality in order to attract and to try to get that person to fall for them, and they get that. Once they get married, then they feel that they have the relationship, they have the love, they have the security. So in many cases, then they become less, the sexuality begins to decrease. They're not as feminine, they're not as sexual because they've gotten the relationship. Where men will they go the opposite. They will use romance and love and emotions in order to get the sexuality. And then once they get married, then they're like, we're married, I should get the sexuality, so I don't need to be as romantic and worry about your emotions. And so then they pull back from being emotional and romantic. So the women use sexuality to get the marriage. The men use the love, romance to get the marriage so they can get the sex. Once the woman gets love, marriage, security, a partner, she becomes less sexual. The man, once he gets married, thinks he's now going to get the sex, becomes less romantic, and then you create a problem now where both people become very dissatisfied. I think this is a major problem. This article doesn't address, but I think that's a reality. Now, I think it's true, and I'll have to end with this, all right, because we're already over an hour. Man. Yeah, we're at an hour. There's got to be a balance here. There's got to be a balance in all of this. And there's a lot more here. Well, no, we're almost done with the article, but in fact, I'll just conclude the article since we're time. All right. It says here. Oh, let's see. No. This article goes on. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was the end of the article. No, this article goes a long ways. So we can't finish the article right now. We'll definitely come back and pick up this topic again because this is some serious stuff. I will say this. There's got to be a balance in all of this. Men have got to take responsibility for themselves. And we can't just see women as the methadone fix to fix our problem. There's got to be an approach. But I do believe that the only hope, ultimately, for a healthy view, well, I think we need to deal with how Christians do. I think we all have to look on how we developed our views of sexuality and see how they need to be correct. We all need to try to have a healthy view of sexuality, a biblical healthy view of sexuality. I think we need to all develop that. And that's more than just the biology, and that's more than just the prohibitions. I think there has to be a healthy view of sexuality that goes beyond just the physical act of how it happens and beyond just what the prohibitions are. Because I think a lot of Christians have I think a lot of people in society have an unhealthy view of sexuality. So I think that needs to be addressed. But when it comes to Christians, we are in a weird situation because we're sexual beings, but we have a very restrictive code on how it's like you can only have sex with your marriage partner, period, end of story. And a man cannot look at a woman with lust or he's already committed adultery. And there's no sex before marriage. I mean, it's very, very restrictive compared to the world's understanding of sexuality. And I think the only way people are going to survive that is, first of all, the husband needs the wife and the wife needs the husband. And when I say the husband needs the wife, not just as a methadone fix, needs a partner who hopefully can understand and listen and support in the struggle. But it's hard to go to the wife for that support because your struggle directly impacts her feelings because she feels like she's not pretty enough, she's not sufficient, there's something wrong with her. And so you don't want to go to her, and which then puts the man in an isolated perspective, which then makes him vulnerable. So see, it's such a difficult thing, but you need that partnership as much as you can. But at the same time, you don't want to just be a partnership that says, look, I struggle, it's your fault, fix me. That's not correct either. But I just don't know how you can make it without a partner. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just throwing out thoughts. I'm just going to stop right there. You can email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. You can tell me if you feel like you've been hurt by the Christian view on sexuality, how it hurt you. You don't have to go into any detail, but you can just say, I was hurt by it. What helped you? Are you still struggling? How do you overcome it? It's a difficult subject, and I don't know the answers, but I just think it's interesting now that we have these scandals, and now Christians are like, hey, it's the Christian view of sexuality who's at fault. Well, the Christian view of sexuality has been around for a long time. But I don't know I don't know. I think we just want someone to blame, something to blame. I think it's more deeper than that. But I do believe that the Christian view of sexuality is a difficult one, and it's one that has to be discussed. All right, I'll stop right there. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. I do apologize for almost losing my voice in the midst of all of that, but sometimes that happens. Taking a drink of water. And, I think we'll stop right there. Everyone have a great day. God bless.